Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Lance and Katie, good to see you. John with Thursdays. Oh, wait a minute. John with Fridays. John, we missed you yesterday. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you.
We'd love to have you. We'd love to have your insights. We have a lot of information that we're going to pick John's brain, but let's go first to the polls. How would you rate Congresswoman Velasquez as chair of the House Small Business Committee? And the reason why we're asking this question, John, is she was appointed chair for the 117th Congress of the House Small Business Committee. What do you think, John? How do you feel about those responses?
I wouldn't answer that. I guess
I apologize. Just as those words slipped out of my mouth. I go, way to go, Bob. Put John on the spot. No, well, she got pretty good marks there. 42% excellent or fair, and yeah, I mean that's
40% either not don't know or choose not to say. So,
yeah, I think those are fair marks. 42 to 16%. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue. I think she's passionate about what she does, and I don't have an issue of how she's run the committee. Katie, Lance, you want to weigh in?
Well, Bob, I think she's done an okay job. I don't, I probably would fall in between excellent and fair.
Yeah.
I think I would say about the same thing. House and Senate, for that matter, their chair members are extremely passionate about what they're doing, and I can tell that they really care about the small businesses and what's going on right now. So I would say between excellent and fair.
John, I can ask you this, would you agree with my statement, this is the most bipartisan committee in the House?
I would say it's right up there. Having witnessed, seen many of the hearings this last year, there wasn't at all the contentiousness that you see in some of the other committees.
Yeah, I mean they have their differences and there's certain things they want to have done, but I think she's done a fair job or a good job. John, how long has she been the chair? Do you know offhand?
I can only say, Bob, that back in 2005 and 6, when I was at American Banker the first time, she was the chair. So now there's obviously been some substantial Republican time where the Republicans were the majority, so she wasn't the chair. But
she was the ranking member then, yeah.
I know she was the ranking member up to 2018. And now it'll be 4 years that she'll have resumed the chairwomanship in this case. So she has been really a stalwart of this committee.
The committee is losing Steve Chabot as the ranking member on the Republican side. He's being replaced by Luke Meyer out of Missouri. I confess, John, I know very little about the man. Fill us in.
Well, what I know about him, representative from Missouri, is that this last, I guess, 2 years, he has been a very, I would use the word passionate crusader against CECL, the current expected credit loss accounting standard that a lot of banks don't like. A lot of credit unions don't like it either, just to mention them as well. I guess a lot of lenders don't like.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the column of lenders who support that?
Not a lot, but that has been a major issue. I know he's from a banking background. I believe his family is in banking, so he's certainly familiar with the issues that are important to community banks, and I'm sure, I don't think he'll need to familiarize himself much. I'm sure he's already familiar with small business issues as well, given his background.
Lance, give us a CECL, what is it, CECL 101? What does that mean, and what is the negative impact to lenders?
Well, John, give us the acronym.
Expected credit loss.
Yeah, it's a more intense risk rating for financial institutions that results in more money being reserved for loan loss. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying there was a lot of work on behalf of most financial institutions across the country complying with that. And I think it'd be hard, Bob, to find people that say, yeah, we love it.
Yeah, well, bankers specifically. And Lance, that'll become a huge issue next year as these PPP loans roll off and there's not forgiveness. And what's more important are the 7A payments where the payments have been made and that's rolling off, and then the borrowers have to start making those payments. So I suspect that's going to be closely looked at by the regulators.
Yes, Bob, absolutely.
Number two, do you see additional PPP stimulus legislation being passed before the end of the year? It's general. Like Katie, I'll start with you first. What do you think, Katie? You're living this stuff now.
So I've been following this for a while, and I think we've been saying for a while that we expected something to be passed. At first we were thinking, June, July, and here we are toward the end of the year. I think there is still a possibility, especially with some of the most recent introduced bills and the new framework. I don't know if I want to say for sure before the end of the year, but I think it's likely that they'll get at least much closer to passing it in the next week or two.
John, last time we talked, you said after the inauguration. What do you think? You think that may be bumped up, or are you still thinking January?
Well, initially, I thought that Congress was going to prove me wrong yet again because
well, they're proving us all wrong, so don't worry, you're not alone.
Again and again, because the negotiations restarted after the election. They heated up very quickly, but now it seems that they are running into snags. It seems like they've run into a snag on the possibility of stimulus checks, another round of stimulus checks. So that's falling by the wayside. And, when that starts to happen on a very important issue, it starts to, once again, shake my confidence that they will, they'll get something done. Having said that, the employment report today should probably be an indicator that the positive effect of the first stimulus is fading fast, if it hasn't faded already. And
John, since you brought that up, and then I'll bring Katie in the discussion. Why as a banker, and I'm not a C-suite banker, but I'm the cog putting together the assets for the bank, putting this all together. Why should I be concerned about that?
Well, it was a big miss on the employment numbers. They were expecting, I forget the exact, expecting double what they got, which was, well under 300,000 new jobs.
265, and it doesn't make any difference. Go ahead, John.
Well, on the one hand, that's still positive, but if you look at the last few months, they've been double that, and so this is a sign that it seems to be a clear sign the stimulus is fading, and you have the prospect of additional shutdowns.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, those numbers do not even reflect what's happening in California and New York and everywhere else. So,
yeah,
that's
well, the other question, Bob, that we need to ask is: will your institution participate in PPP if legislation is passed? Because
that's a great question. Joseph, write that down. We'll do that Monday.
I would say that banks have had pretty mixed experience. The changing landscape of the rules has been kind of difficult on banks. And, the question is, will participant lenders jump in and do it again?
Katie, what are your thoughts about this?
I really don't know. It's hard to say at this point.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is it going to be done by the end of the year? Let's try that one.
I'm going to say maybe. It's a hard maybe.
I'll take a maybe. Lance is shaking his head. He's not going to touch that answer.
Bob, I don't think it's going to happen. I want it to happen.
So I'm not saying anything.
I want it to happen, Bob, and part of the reason I'm going to say it's not going It's not going to happen, Bob. It's the last time I made a prognostication like that, Bob. I said it is going to happen, and it did. So I'm going to say
4th
no.
of July. No, you and I were in the same boat. All right, Katie, I'm going to ask you a question you can answer. There's 4 bills that were passed by the House committee. Real quick, what's going on here?
So these are just all passed, I believe, yesterday by the House committee. And the big ones that you probably need to know about is this first one that authorizes the Community Advantage program for an additional 5 years. It also has some wording in there to make sure that there's some kind of training so that CDCs can properly handle these loans. Then the other one that you really probably need to know about is this third one down from the top. It's shifting the loan closing file review responsibilities to OCRM, and it's also allowing SBA to charge CDCs a fee to cover the cost of oversight. And I went through that bill, and it doesn't actually say what the fee is going to be yet, so that's still to be determined.
I'm sure the CDCs are real happy about that one. John, any surprises on that list?
No, none to me. The one I was following the closest was the Community Advantage program, and I know that has a lot of support in Congress. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
John, I'm sure there's someone who has no idea what the Community Advantage program is. Give me a Community Advantage 101. What is that program?
Well, it's the loans through Community Advantage. They're 7A loans, so it's a subset of 7A. But they're not made by the banks. These are. I hate to use the term micro loans because I know that is a term of art specific. But these are going to be smaller loans made to, I guess you might call them startups and other types of firms that probably aren't ready for bank credit.
Yeah, underserved markets. SBA is defined underserved as veteran, rural, economic, and women-owned businesses. Also, right. Community Advantage is predominantly lent by the CDCs and CDFIs. Exactly.
So, right. Yeah. So it's going to be institutions other than banks.
Yeah. Great. Any prognostication, John? And do you think this is all pretty bipartisan support and all this will go through?
I would think so. I mean, I know that there's strong bipartisan support, certainly for Community Advantage. And I know that I just know from the talk in the committee and others that they want to strengthen OCRM. They want that to be a strong and so
I suspect the charges will be similar to what they are for regular lenders. It's in the SOP, right. That they can look at. Point 2, manufacturing loans from 5.5 to 6.5. Katie, we're talking 7A, 504. And what is the definition of a manufacturing loan?
I actually don't know the definition of that. So you're going to have to probably read that bill to know, unless you know it off the top of your head.
I mean, but does this apply to 7A or 504 or both?
This is going to apply to at least 7A. I'm not sure about 504. It's going to be mostly contracting situations for this.
Lance, I suspect when they say manufacturing loans, they're going to defer to the lender to determine that. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, manufacturing is going to have to hit a manufacturing NACE code. So
okay, that's great.
I suspect there'll be certain NAICS codes that are appropriate for this loan amount.
Okay, great. Good. We have another interesting question. Let's bring that up. And we were talking about this, and just out of curiosity, the poll question is, this is different than, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not following our script. What do we got here? What do we have here, Katie?
This is just a final rule that was published. I believe it's going to be published in a few days in the registrar. It's just amending some regulations, including a new application and review process for SBA supervised lenders. It's got a couple transaction changes for change of ownership control. I believe that is available in our handouts if you want to read it.
Great. John, what are you reporting these days? I know you dropped an article about PPP. What's on your plate these days?
Well, what was published this morning was a story about the Fed's extension of the PPP loan facility that they announced Monday. But what we wanted to report was, or investigate, was the possible impact, I guess, on secondary loan sales, because it had been scheduled to sunset on December 31st. They have 90 extra days, so it's through the end of March. And we just asked the simple question to the people who have been active in buying. There aren't that many. There are really only two that are sort of systemically active. Just what do you think? And they both thought it was a positive. They both thought it, by creating more space for deals to happen, that it certainly creates the potential for more deals to happen. And what they said was the reasons for a sale are as valid now as they were in August, when there were July and August, when there were several notable sales that were announced. I know that there have been a number that haven't been announced, because the number we got for total loan sales has been $4 billion, or is $4 billion, at least through the loan source, ACAP and the loan source. Somewhat less than that through Fountainhead, and probably some additional ones. So probably the whole universe of loan sales, I suspect, amounts to about $5 billion. But they're looking to see more. One thing that Chris Hearn at Fountainhead said was the extra time is great, but the end of the year is coming up, and that always pushes decision makers to make decisions. They want things to happen this calendar year as opposed to next calendar year. So he expects, and also the loan source expects, some deals before the end of the year.
Why is this important? Why do we need to have this facility?
Without this facility, there is really no secondary market.
For PPP.
The return on these loans is so limited, so small, that the cost of capital has to be even smaller. And that's the case with the PPP loan facility. It's 35 basis points, so it gives the buyers some room to make a profit. And obviously, the only way they can make a significant profit is through volume.
Through volume, absolutely. Great. Well, I appreciate that. There's a, John, I've been following this, and I don't know if you've been following, but Main Street lending, we see the Treasury Secretary is trying to put that into Never Never Land and lock it up and throw away the key. Do you see anything happening with that? There's $450, $500 billion that's available, but do you see that coming back?
No, certainly not in that form, because it just wasn't. It
attractive to lenders, absolutely.
Attract lenders. So, you saw that it went away, and one thing you didn't see was an outcry, a hue and cry.
Good point. Excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah, it went away, and no one was singing its demise. Very good. Yes. Real quick, last poll question. We wanted to compare what's happening today with the last crisis. And how do you feel about the lack of community bank closures during the crisis? In other words, last time around, 2008, 2009, we were having community banks, one or two every Friday close. This time around, Lance, I know you're a former regulator on that. We've had less than a handful. How do you feel about that, Lance?
Well, I think that because of the stimulus elements in the CARES Act, it's a friend of mine said it's like we punted. To use a football story, we took loans that could have potentially been a problem, and we kicked them down the road 6 months with CARES Act payments, and maybe even longer with PPP money. I do think it's critical that we get something passed to support small businesses, more PPP money, more CARES Act payments. I do think community banks are going to see stressed borrowers. Well, they're already seeing stressed borrowers, but there will be more liquidation activity in projects in 2021. Again, if we pass more stimulus, it's 4th down and 20, and we're on the 5-yard line. So we've got to punt again and hope that we're back to a more normal economic reality, another 6 months down the road. But we've not had closures yet because we've not had much stress in the portfolio yet. But I do think it's around the corner if we don't get additional stimulus.
Very good. Lance, real quick, you're doing a webinar next Wednesday on processing flawless PPP forgiveness apps. Give a little preview of that, please.
I don't know if there's a such thing as a flawless PPP forgiveness app, but we are going to talk about all the updated information and in terms of being a participant bank, processing a PPP forgiveness application. We're going to try to bring you up to date and give you best practices for processing forgiveness.
Those who sign up for the webinar also get our PPP forgiveness lender's guide as well. Jimmy makes a point which probably answers the question. The H211 bill is entitled the 504 Modernization of Small Manufacturing Enhancement Act. So he's guessing that it's only for 504, which could make some sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. John, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy. We love your articles. Keep them coming. Lance, have a nice weekend. Katie, good job. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.